Hey everyone, as some of you know, I'm finally overclocked, and because of this, I decided to make a video that compares my performance from my previous clock speed to my clock speed now, which is 4.3 GHz. In this video, I'll compare 5 different games, and some of the results are actually pretty interesting. So the first game I chose to do was Battlefield 1. I chose this game for obvious reasons. It's incredibly CPU intensive, and it would be cool to see the differences. The game is set to Ultra and DX12 is off because it's completely broken for me. So at first it probably doesn't seem like there's much of a difference in frame rate, but the lows for the stock speed are actually much lower than when overclocked. For example, the lowest FPS I saw with the overclock was around 43 FPS, whereas at stock speed the lowest I saw was 35 FPS. So for a CPU intensive game like this, an overclock is extremely beneficial. So the next game is Fallout 4. As you can see, the settings are set to the Ultra preset, and I also have the FOV turned up in the configuration file, but it's turned up for both 3.5 GHz and 4.3 GHz. So I chose this game for the same reasons as BF1. It uses a ridiculous amount of CPU power, and it would be cool to see the difference. You can pretty much pause this video at any point and most likely see a huge increase. The highest I see is a 10 FPS increase. There's a more consistent gain in FPS, especially in the city, which you will see in a benchmark coming up. The next game is Hitman. The settings are set as high as they can go and the game is set to DX12. There isn't too much of a difference in FPS, but the CPU usage is actually lower. So for Hitman, it looks like the overclock didn't change much in terms of performance. You can pause the video at any point and the difference probably won't be substantial. But with that being said, the lows on the higher clock speed are probably higher than they are on stock, which is a good thing. Up next is Mirror's Edge Catalyst. The game is set to hyper settings, which are the highest they go. I'd like to point out that hyper settings are extremely power hungry for no apparent reason, and you'd probably be better off setting the game to ultra. But obviously for this type of video, I'm gonna crank the game to the highest settings. I'm gonna go ahead and stock this game up to just poor optimization. As you can see, the game is running fairly similar at stock clock and at 4.3 GHz. It doesn't make too much sense, but at 4.3 GHz there does appear to be a lot less stuttering, which is a good thing, but I still wouldn't be playing at these settings due to the performance. So the last game is GTA V. This is a really CPU heavy game and I had to put it in here. The settings are as high as they go aside from MSAA and reflection MSAA, and there are a few settings in advanced settings turned on which don't affect the FPS by much. So getting into the performance, the FPS on the higher clock appears to almost be 10 FPS better in most spots in the city, but when it comes to the countryside, the FPS is fairly similar, but it is still an improvement over stock speed. And I'm sure if you turn down grass to high, you could probably get a lot more FPS than this, but I put it on ultra because that's what people like to see. So in conclusion, there does appear to be a very big difference in performance when overclocking the 8320 that's paired with a 480. There is still a bottleneck however, and you're most likely better off waiting for Zen or KB Lake at this point. If you don't want to wait, I would go for a 6600K as it's a great CPU. But anyway, I hope you guys liked this video and I'll see you in the next one.